Do you mind if I share the stage? So one of my Facebook friends made a post asking for recommendations or input about pitchforks, and that's something I know a lot about. I've used pitchforks to move a mountains of uh, wood chips over the years. I've been doing tree work for over 30 years, so we've moved a lot of chips, whether it was stump grinder debris or spreading mulch for customers after we dumped it for them. And I've learned what to look for in a good pitchfork that's going to last. So basically, there's a bunch of types of pitchforks, but they all get lumped into this one category of pitchfork because they look like a fork and they're used for pitching stuff. If you think of but they all do have their own purpose. Um, some are really excel really well at one thing, and some excel really well at a lot of things, and some are a little bit more all-purpose. But if someone said, "Let me see your pitchfork," this is probably what most people would imagine. This is a Five-tine cast pitchfork. Um, what makes it so useful for certain things is this sweeping curve, and so if you go to throw it in a pile of hay, you don't have to be too concerned with the angle of your throw because it's curved. It's going to go right in, and it excels at moving non-amalgamous, different shaped silage, let's say, because there's a lot of space between the tines. I think it's about 2.5 inches between the tines. Um, so if you had a pile of branches and with a lot of sticks and debris in there, that would be a really good option. It would not be a good option for moving wood chips. Of course, you can move wood chips with it, or sawdust, because half of it's going to fall through the tines because the space is so big. Also, that sweeping curve is not going to be your friend if you're working on any sort of flat surface like a driveway or what have you. The next one I have up is this is called a bedding fork. Some people would also call this a pitchfork. But what you probably can't do very well is just throw it into the pile of something. Like if you tried to use this to move a pile of debris that had any sort of sticks or twigs in it, you'd get so frustrated with it, you'd throw it across the yard because the spaces between these tines are too close together, and they'll get caught on everything. And this is also a welded fork, so the tines move very easy. So as you stick it in a pile, it's going to hit a stick, and then this one's going to cross over this one, and you'll be all tangled up in short order. But this one is a bedding fork, and the purpose in that, you see it has a nice long flat. The purpose for that long flat is if you're in your stall, you put that flat on the ground and you slide it underneath your bedding material for an animal bedding, like a horse stall. um, as you pick it up, the bedding material is going to fall through the tines, and the manure is going to stay on top of the fork so you can pitch it. The third one I have here is this is called, a lot of people would also call this a pitchfork, but this is called a cottonseed fork. You'll also see it referred to as an ensilage fork. This is very heavy. And the purpose for this, originally, this was designed as a cottonseed fork. The purpose for this was as they were running cotton through the cotton gins, the old seeds with the little attached tufts of cotton would, build up behind the gin, and they would come through. They would have workers that would come through and pick up a huge scoop of that material and throw it out a chute where it would be loaded onto a trolley. Now, this is very heavy, but it can be heavy because they wanted a lot of momentum to get a lot of debris together at once. And the debris itself didn't weigh very much, so the fork could weigh a lot. And it does weigh. This sucker will give your shoulders quite a workout if you use it all day. It's also brought up on the sides. If you see, it's not flat. It's brought up on the sides like a scoop, so it really will hold a lot of debris. This is the preferred tool. This is my preferred tool for moving wood chips, especially if it's on a driveway. This is just, you could pack so many wood chips on this that you'll have to dump some out to pick it up if you're not strong enough. Um, and you could pick up 2 cubic feet, a cubic foot easily with this thing. Put it in a wheelbarrow or wherever you have to whatever you need to do with it. This would not excel at moving things with a lot of sticks and twigs unless you can glide right under them. There's about 1.5 inches between each tine, so it's moderate on how well you could move a bunch of twiggy stuff with a lot of debris in it, but it does work great for really fine amalgam stuff. So 2 of these things are similar in that they're cast. Like this pitchfork head is one solid piece of steel. And you can see where they just heat it and they bend it and they pound them out flat. There's 2 welds right here to hold the pin, the shaft on the head, but this is a cast piece of steel. Get out. This is also one cast piece of steel. This one is welded. So what we have here is five C-shaped hoops. Let's see. C would be this way for you. 5 C-shaped hoops, and they're welded together across the top here. That's got one advantage, is that it's very light. It's much lighter than a cast head. One downside that it has is that, like I showed you, they're very flexible. So these will get crisscrossed and they bend very easy because it's wire. It's not cast. It's actually, cold rolled steel wire that's welded together. So it bends easy, but on the upside, it bends back easy. If you were to bend a cast fork, which is possible, it's very difficult to bend it back. And as you're bending it back, you run the risk of actually breaking it off because cast metal doesn't have the ability to move back and forth repeatedly without stress. The other downside to this, which is a considerable downside for me, is these holes. Everything and the thing next to it will get tangled up in these holes. So like I said, if you're cleaning out bedding in an animal's stall, this is a great tool, but for moving any sort of sticks or debris, forget about it. If you were to say what's the best all-purpose pitchfork, I'd have to say this one. I'd have to say the Five-tine cast pitchfork. It excels at moving a variety of debris. And if you pick it up right and gingerly, you can pick up small debris like wood chips or sawdust. It's got to be the right consistency, and you got to move it. You got to have a little finesse to work it like that. All of these are American made. This one's made by Wolverine, which is an excellent tool company. They're out of Michigan. This one's made by Razorback. It's American made. This is made by Ames Corporation. That's also American made. They've been in business since 1774. Big difference between American made pitchforks and imported pitchforks. I think, and also length of handles. Almost all of these, well, really all of them, you can get with a long handle or a short handle. And it doesn't seem to be a lot of answers out there as to why they have one and the other and which one's better for which. I'll give you my opinion. My opinion is that the short handles are made for working in confined spaces, like inside of a stall, in the back of a truck, up in a hayloft. The short handle is much more deft and allows you to move easier. The long handles will give you more leverage. You can pick up more debris with a long handle. Plus, you don't have to bend over as far because the handle's so long. You can work out in front of you. And with the shorter handle, you will always have to bend over to use it. Oddly enough, if you Google why do some pitchforks have short handles, the first return is something from Bob Vila, where he says you get more leverage that way. Well, I don't know. I only have a rudimentary understanding of physics, but I do believe that the long handle gives you more leverage. That's a conversation for another day. So that is about all I know about pitchforks that I use commonly. Again, there's a whole bunch of other pitchforks. There's I'll show an example here of a digging fork. Some people call this a potato fork. I've heard it called a spud fork. I've heard it called a digging fork, but these are cast tines that are very, very thick and very strong, and they're literally made to drive into the earth and pry things up. They come in handy sometimes for popping up roots, but especially great for digging up potatoes. I don't have one. Our potatoes, I've never had a problem harvesting with a shovel or one of these pitchforks. So anyway, that's all I know about. That's about all I know about pitchforks, and I hope that this was helpful for you if you're trying to make a decision on what kind of pitchfork to buy. So to sum it up, my opinion is an American-made, long-handled, cast pitchfork is always the way to go. Thanks for watching.